but they never ever teach you how to actually build wealth? Yeah, that's not a mistake. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the 3 money rules that wealthy families pass down, the kind of rules that can shift you from just being a player in the game to owning the entire. Right here, this is the fundamental split in how people think. The system we're all taught is built around one word: earning. You trade your time for a paycheck. But the wealthy, they speak a totally different language. It's all about owning. They're focused on building their net worth with assets that make money for them. It really is the difference between being a pawn on the board and owning the whole game. And this gap in thinking has some pretty staggering real-world effects. This number, 49%, that's the average score adults get on a basic financial literacy test. Let that sink in. Basically, half the population doesn't have the fundamental knowledge to build wealth. And you know what? This isn't an accident. It's a feature of a system designed to teach you just enough to work inside of it, but not enough to actually master it. Okay, so this leads us right into the first rule, and honestly, it's a total game changer. It's about a complete mental shift, from obsessing over your income to obsessing over ownership. This right here is the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? A salary means you are always trading your time for money. If you don't work, you don't get paid. But ownership, that means your assets, your stocks, a side business, real estate, they're out there working for you 24/7. The goal isn't just to earn more, it's to build systems that earn for you. Let's put some real numbers to this so you can see what I mean. Take a look at these 2 people. Both make $80,000 a year. Person A, the saver, does what we're told is good. They put some cash away, but it just sits there. Now, person B, the owner, invests that money. And look, assuming just a modest return over 10 years, that investment starts to compound and grow like crazy. The result? A net worth over 7 times bigger. It's the same income, but a completely different world, all because one of them chose ownership. So how do you even start? It's actually way simpler than it sounds. First, just change the question you ask yourself on payday. Instead of, what can I buy? Ask, what part of this can I turn into ownership? Second, set a clear goal. Maybe it's just 10% to start with, but commit to investing it. And third, and this is a big one, change what you measure. Stop obsessing over your salary and start tracking your net worth. That's the number that tells you if you're actually winning. All right, on to rule 2, which builds perfectly on the first one. This is all about taking your unreliable human emotions completely out of the equation. See, wealthy people get it. Willpower is not a strategy. It runs out. So instead of banking on it, they build systems that run on their own. I mean, we all like to think we have discipline, right? We tell ourselves, okay, this month I'm definitely going to save more. But let's be real. If willpower was all it took, would so many of us be stressed about money? The truth is, discipline fails, especially after a long week when you're tired and just want to treat yourself. And this is exactly why automation is your superpower. You're basically making the right choice the easy choice, the default choice. You build a system that moves your money into investments automatically before you even get a chance to think about spending it. It completely flips the script. You're no longer trying to save what's left after you spend, you're spending what's left after you invest. And here's what that system can actually look like. It is beautifully simple. The second your paycheck lands, boom, a set percentage is automatically whisked away to your long-term investments. Maybe another little slice goes to what some people call a freedom fund, money for opportunities or just a safety net. And then you just live on what's left. No thinking, no debating, the plumbing is set up and it just works for you. So here's your game plan. First, log into your bank and set up an automatic transfer for the day after you get paid. Seriously, do it today. Second, create 2 simple buckets to send the money to. One for long-term wealth, one for that freedom fund. And finally, use what's called the friction trick. Make saving frictionless, automatic, and make impulse spending just a tiny bit harder. Like, go delete your saved credit card info from Amazon. And that brings us to our third and final rule. And honestly, this might be the most powerful one of them all. Our entire world tries to get us to think short-term. Daily news, weekly paychecks, monthly bills. The wealthy teach their kids to just ignore all that noise, to zoom way out, and to start thinking in decades. This timeline shows you exactly why that long-term view is so crucial. When you first start investing, that first decade, oh man, it feels painfully slow. The growth is barely there. Then the second decade, it starts to pick up a little speed.
But it's in those later years where compound interest really kicks in and does its magic, and the growth just becomes explosive. The real tragedy is that most people give up during that first slow decade, right before things get interesting.
And wow, that quote just hits you, right? Time is going to pass no matter what. You can't stop it. The only choice you have is what your life is going to look like when that time is up. Playing the long game, it's really just a gift you're giving to your future self, a gift of options, of freedom, of not having to worry. So how do you actually do this? First, sit down and set goals for different timelines. 1 year, 5 years, and the big one, 20 years. Second, use a simple 20-year filter for any big money decisions. Just ask yourself one question. In 20 years, am I going to be glad I did this? And this one's crucial. Automate your raises. Every time you get a pay bump, automatically bump up your investment percentage before you even have a chance to get used to the extra money. Okay, so we've covered the 3 big rules. But, theory is pretty useless if you don't do anything with it. So let's bring this all home with a super simple plan you can start putting into practice over the next 30 days. Now, before we go any further, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking right now. It's the most common pushback in the world. This is all great, but it's only for people who are already rich. And you know what? You're not wrong. Having more money makes all this easier, for sure. But the rules themselves, the mindset, they work whether you're starting with $50 or $5,000. And that brings us to maybe the most important point of this whole thing. That psychological gap between investing $0 and investing your first dollar or your first $50, it's the biggest, widest, scariest gap you will ever have to cross. I promise you, once you make that leap, you've done the hardest part. Just by starting, you're already way ahead of the game. So here is a dead simple plan. Week 1, just figure out where you are. Calculate your net worth. That's your starting line. Week 2, automate. Just set up 1 automatic transfer. That's it, 1. Week 3, dream a little. Write down what you actually want your life to look like in 10 years. And week 4, this is all about identity. Start changing that story you tell yourself from I'm a spender or I'm bad with money to I am an owner. So let's just run through the 3 big rules one last time. Number 1, think in ownership, not just income. Number 2, use systems, not willpower. And number 3, always, always play the long game. Look, school probably didn't teach you any of this stuff. And hey, maybe your parents didn't know it either. But that doesn't matter. That old script you were handed, it's not permanent. You now have a new playbook in your hands. So the only real question left is, are you going to use it?